Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions. I'm here with my fellow co-host Aaron Conaway for another Ultraverse review. Ultraverse
Reread.
reread. How you doing today, man?
Doing good. This is a reread for me still at this point. We haven't gotten to the part where it's a fresh read for me yet.
Yeah. So we're gonna tackle Mantra today, and actually the next few sessions. So for those that are following along, we are doing the Marvel.fandom reading order, which seems to go more by rather than publication order, like the actual chronology of events that happen in the Ultraverse. So our first few will be linked in the Ultraverse playlist on my channel that we've done, or first, what, five or six.
Something like
But
that, yeah.
now we're going to be doing the first four issues of Mantra in order. So that's crazy.
First stretch.
Yep. So let's get in this and look. Oh, look at that. I happen to have a Ultraverse Zero coupon in here as well.
Nice.
So if anybody still wants to, I've got Ultraverse Zero already. So if anybody needs a
You're gonna try to
coupon
mail it in.
for their Zero, mail it in, and it came with a Mantra card. I actually remember having this when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Or
Is it the same?
teen.
Who's the artist? Does it say?
Uh, Doesn't really say, but it looks like it's Terry Dodson.
I was gonna say it does. It does look like Terry. Terry, like
Yeah.
we're on a first name basis.
Yeah, Terry and we go way back.
Yeah.
All right. Mantra. So, we've got Terry Dodson doing the pencils. We got Alve doing the inks, and we've got Mike W. Barr doing the writing chops. Which Mike W. Barr was like big Batman writer. He wrote a lot of Batman stuff. It looked like.
Huh. I did not know that.
But yeah, he's pretty prevalent, writer in the comic industry. And Terry Dodson, I think this is like some of his earlier stuff, because Terry Dodson later kind of like went on and did more like he did Wonder Woman. I think he did Ghost. He did a bunch of like very because of this, maybe he started doing more female centric stuff, because he's really adept at the female figure.
Ah, interesting.
But this cover looks like it's done by somebody completely different, Hoang Nguyen. So the cover is somebody completely different than
Yeah,
Terry
this is
Dodson.
fairly common, so
It is for Ultraverse. So what are your thoughts on the cover?
I have a few questions. It's it's a dynamic cover,
Yeah,
but I don't love that Boneyard is kind of he's there, but his face is I don't know. That's a weird choice.
yeah,
And then Mantra's left leg. I'm not even an anatomy guy. Like I'm not saying it's not
this one.
well her left
Uh-huh.
and well both legs, but it's like the face and the arm, like everything's great, and then kind of falls apart in her leg because Warstrike looks awesome.
Yeah,
There's no but yeah, I don't know what happened there. What about
Warstrike
you?
looks very Jim Lee-ish.
Yeah.
Like they were going for
Well, and the
that.
Stephen Platt like bullets everywhere too.
I mean, it's okay. It's like it was all right. It's not. It doesn't feel like a number one issue to me.
Oh yeah,
Cover, and like Prime and Prototype, like their characters were so like. Why is this guy in the foreground for Mantra's book?
right.
It's her book, or their book, actually, I should say. And like the way Boneyard is in the background, it almost looks like his pose and posture and the way he's looking off in the distance. You would think that would be Archmage, her
Right.
boss. It's almost serene, like the way he's in the background, rather than ominous.
Right. Yeah.
So
So a few questions, but
yeah,
it's one of those things too where with this reading or with these rereads, I'm trying to separate who I was as a kid reading these versus who I am now, and separating my need to have, I shouldn't have to have this plot or that, this art, this hit the same as like, I don't know,
Yeah.
a prose novel. Like it
Yeah.
should be. I'm trying to let it stand as it is without hitting it for deducting points for stupid reasons.
Yeah. Well, I agree. That's a challenge, and it was very hard with this one for some reason, more so than any of the others that we've had so far. I'm going to say
so
from
far
the
this
outset, the
Go ahead.
views expressed in this comic have nothing to do with the reviewers of this book. Some of the things said about women in this comic, we do not share those views at all.
Well, and I have a point to that, because in the previous rereads that we've done, I've mentioned the fact that, like, I remember as a kid being annoyed at the, I'm a man, I'm a man, I'm a man. But I actually am curious now, as we read these, I'll find out, but I'm curious now if there's a reason for it. So we'll get into it when we get there, but
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
yeah.
All right. We got a splash page here. I do not like this splash page.
Okay.
I get what they were going for. It's very EC, like very old comics did this thing where their splash page was like almost like another cover, like a second cut, like a synopsis of the story or concept.
Right.
And I just don't think it works for this. I don't know. I don't like it. Not a fan.
See, I actually would have liked this more as a cover.
Oh, yeah.
With a few tweaks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
100%.
I actually like the EC approach of having it, of trying to tell us who Mantra is by this image. It just doesn't quite pull it off for me. Like, I like that this is this is the body, but it's the components are these two people.
Right.
But it just doesn't quite land for me. And since it's not the cover, it's not a great splash page.
Yep. Well, so we got Terry Dodson in his full form here.
Yeah.
And we kind of just jump right into the story. So we have our main protagonist, Lucas.
Yeah, I pronounced it differently almost every time I said his name or read his name.
We'll just say Lucas for sure.
There you go.
Sitting having a drink. He's in a hotel room. Covers up his guns when there's a knock on the door, and we get this attorney coming and delivering some papers to him. And his wife and son show up right behind the attorney, and apparently they're divorce papers. He's just like getting a divorce.
Right.
And tells her to take off.
Well, yeah, because like it's the host's body's wife, and like his spirit is taken over this vessel basically, and like
Yep.
time to shed all the problematic parts of the host's life.
Yeah, so to kind of like, we're kind of thrust right into the story, ladies and gentlemen, but this is Archmage, who is fighting this guy Boneyard, and there's some kind of immortal beings that have been at war for centuries, and they have groups of people that do their bidding, that fight this war. And our protagonist Lucas works for Archmage, and that, as Aaron was alluding to, every time they die, Archmage will use his magic to have them repossess a body, a living body, and they'll have full consciousness of it, and then they continue the fight from there. So that's what's happening, is he's in this host's body, and he's basically severing ties with the wife and child, so he can just go off to his war and not have to worry about collateral damage.
Yeah. Which I actually this approach worked for me. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't mind being thrust right into it because
yeah,
it's kind of a heavy or a heady concept. So it's like, okay, cool, I get it.
yeah,
I did not feel confused at this point.
yeah. I didn't either, and I love the concept. It's a fucking cool story.
Yeah,
Love it a ton. So Lucas is going to some kind of place called the Conjure Club for magicians, costumes, and supplies, and it looks like it's just kind of like uh, the warehouse space in the back or something. Where the placement of everything is in this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but he meets with some of his other fellow soldiers, and Archmage kind of lets them know what's down. They got to go attack this dude, and apparently they're looking for some sort of object as well that the guy who runs this place has. So this is the dude that runs the Conjure Club, and we've got one of the antagonists' minions named Notch, kind of grilling him for information. And here's our first appearance of Boneyard, kind of ordering them around. Yeah, so Notch.
yeah,
That was, ugh. And this was kind of hokey. All the other minions are like, they remind me of like the minions in a Disney movie or something, like the evil minions. They're like fighting and like, well, I'm the one that did it. No, I'm the one that did it, and shit like that. It's pretty hokey.
yeah. See, they gave me Dreadnought vibes.
Yeah, very much. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of flair, very little
Right.
resulting content. So Lucas and his guys break in right when Notch is getting ready to put a notch for every person he kills, and is going to kill this dude because they found the object, and it's some kind of mask. And so a battle ensues. And while they're fighting in this realm, you get the sense, like in the astral realm or other dimensions or wherever Archmage and Boneyard exist, they're battling as well. So here we get kind of like a sense where, I mean, they will just kill each other. They just outright kill each other every time, and they repossess the bodies of new hosts. And then Lucas ends up getting killed by Notch. Any comments here so far?
No, I mean, so far it's still,
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah,
Like,
so far I'm down with it. I'm rolling along. I really like this, just he dies, and you don't really know at this point, like, oh my gosh, he died, what happens? And so I'm trying to recall what happened here. It's been a minute since I've read it. You get the sense that these guys get repossessed by Boneyard, even though that they died, so their souls go back, but Lucas stays dead.
yeah, Archmage works with a different kind of setup, evidently.
Yeah.
Incidentally, I do like Archmage as a name, and Boneyard I think has a really cool look.
Yeah.
The name is fine, but I like his look a lot.
Yeah.
Particularly as a kid, I did. Thought he was very intimidating looking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and there are aspects of Archmage that come to fruition, especially in terms of his costume, that I didn't catch earlier. So we can get into that later in the series. But he tears out Lucas's heart, and it's like, oh man, they ended up getting like like we didn't get the mask like we wanted. Everything went to crap. So we get this new scene where we're introduced to Wrath, who's getting a phone call, who's just your run-of-the-mill, gun-toting 1990s superhero mercenary, basically.
Yeah, big guns, weird straps on the arms.
Yep. And this is like supposed to be, I guess, an introduction as to his precision. He had a rose with a vase and shoots around it, and the rose isn't harmed, and he smells it, so he's got a delicate side, I guess. I don't. Like, okay. This literally seems like a scene that we probably would have wrote when we were. Maybe we still would actually.
I was gonna say, I would probably still, because it's, I mean, it's 3 panels of demonstrating just how precise this dude is. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't mind it.
So then we get thrown into a whole other scenario, a whole other story, and we get some kind of like suburban drama here. So we get a lady and a guy in a car parked outside the house of somebody named Eden, and they're getting ready to go on a double date. And you get the sense that they've been that they're married, but they were like in a separation or something, or possibly a divorce, but they were getting back together. And then in the house, you get this lady named Eden, who obviously is becomes Mantra, if you couldn't tell. And she's dating some dude, saying bye to her kids, and she's going out with this guy. So, and you get the sense that this guy, like, she's been married before, divorce, and so this guy is a new dude on the block. Grandma's gonna watch the kids, and the friends come and meet. They're getting ready to go out on their date, and then we get thrown back into this like weird ethereal, like dimensional series of panels, which I really loved, and I really wanted more of it. And it's Lucas on his, what he calls soul walk, which is after he gets killed, Archmage is pulling him into the space where he will inhabit another soul. And he's seeing all of the different souls that he's inhabited. So they've been at this for like how many centuries? Like, I can't recall.
I don't remember either, but it's a lot. I mean, it's bordering on millennia.
Yeah. And so he inhabits a body, and you see a hand ringing the doorbell, and then you get this, I'm black again. So obviously he possessed the body of this woman. And so as soon as like he enters,
of the guy, not the woman yet.
Of the guy,
husband.
Her husband. And so as soon as he enters, he realizes, oh my gosh, I'm in this situation where I'm getting ready to go out with these people, and it's like, I gotta leave, bye honey, and just basically like back off. And so she was just getting ready to like reconnect with her husband, and he's just like, bye, sorry, and it causes a big old scene. Now, I found this kind of fucked up, because as soon as like she opens the door, he's like, whoa, ho, ho, is she my wife? Might not be as bad as I thought. And then as soon as his actual wife comes along, and he's like, no such luck, I've got to get back to the others. Like, damn, that was pretty harsh of Mike Barr to shit on this woman this way.
Well, I don't think that was the intent. I think because it happens a lot. Like, evidently Eden is the most attractive woman on the face of the Ultraverse Earth, because
I know.
It happens constantly where it's like, wow. So I think it was meant more, not so much a diss as to Carl's wife, but to trying to play up that Eden is just gorgeous. And it's like, okay.
Drop dead gorgeous. So Lucas inhabits this body of Carl, and he goes back to this area, this like penthouse suite where everybody's supposed to meet to kind of reconnect. There's a lady here whose name is Katinya. She's the Archmage's familiar. I don't know exactly what her role is, other than she kind of just seems like the secretary, really, of the Archmage in this realm. But she's able to recognize all of the souls of everyone, no matter what body that they're in. So he comes in and kind of partying with everyone, and Archmage shows up and is like, you know, the war against Boneyard isn't going well for a millennium and a half.
Okay.
We fought Boneyard side by side, but someone has betrayed me. And they're all like, what? And as he's talking, Boneyard shows up and speaks some words of power. And he's like, oh, my name. He knows my true name, and then disappears. So Boneyard somehow found out Archmage's true name, which, if you know anything about magic, whether fictional or not, like, a person's true name is that, like, that's like, you could have possession of their soul kind of thing. Like, you can control them is kind of a common motif, right?
Which I'm glad that's there because yeah, up until then I was like, man, how has this battle lasted this long? Because Boneyard and his crew just keep wiping the floor with
Yeah,
Archmage and his crew. Like in both the second meeting we see here,
yeah,
same results. But then it's like, oh, I've been betrayed. Okay, well somebody's on the inside working against you. Okay, cool.
yeah,
Like I remember even as a kid, I was like, what? Why does he suck? But
yeah,
it's not. It's that yeah, the deck is against him.
yep. All right, so he grabs Archmage, which that's like an interesting image,
Yeah.
and sends
Notch in the Dreadnoks.
Yeah, Notch and the Dreadnoks in to take everybody out again, and it's a big battle. People are getting killed left and right, and Wrath comes in, and he was apparently hired to kind of be extra muscle to help Notch and team take stuff out. And this is where it's like bad choice, guys, bad choice on page turns. Bad choice.
Yeah, that would have been a much better.
Yeah, because if they
page.
could have timed this so you turn the page and then boom.
Right.
But so Lucas gets killed again because that's what Lucas does.
That's what he does.
He gets killed by Wrath with this giant sword, but that, like, if you notice, it shrinks when you can fit it into a tiny sheath magically.
Well, magic's abounding.
Yeah. I just didn't notice that before until now. And so he's getting whipped through the soul walk, but he's like, but shit, Archmage is captured and he's not around to do that. And I didn't realize that on this reread that Archmage controls their jump. I thought they were like a race of beings that were like kind of like Highlander-esque, and that's just what they did. But apparently Archmage completely controls whether or not they actually die or not by controlling the jump into the next body. And so he's getting randomly pulled into a body when he thought he should have died, wakes up next to this dude in bed, and he's like, am I gay? What? And then you find out, of course, he is Eden. Which
dun dun dun.
God, which is the most obscenely promiscuous. Like,
little cheek pinup. Like,
yeah. I mean, it gets a little much sometimes in this book. I found reading this book, I guess, just in my old age being a parent, that I was just like, this is a little much. This is a little like, come on, guys, you're not. The dudes that wrote this weren't 13. I know you were writing it for 13-year-olds, but. I'm a woman, and runs to the bathroom and is freaking out. The dude comes in, and soon as he comes in, like Lucas in this woman's body is immediately like seducing. Like immediately like, well, I'm in a woman's body, so I will seduce this person to trick them. Like he like immediately falls to that. I guess I was just being a silly girl, honey. We've never done it in here before. And it's like, okay, baby, whatever makes you feel better. Tosses the guy in there and locks him in the bathroom and then takes off.
In his clothes.
In his clothes. And of course, he's holding this gown and is like, I'll kill her. And I thought, ooh, is that going to be
right?
A big story element? So, I mean, the whole concept of this when they sold it, I thought was like a cool concept. This guy's an immortal warrior, gets shoved accidentally into a woman's body, and he has to adjust. As we're going to see, I wasn't really thrilled about the execution of it. So, just starts complaining about walking in heels. And then, coincidentally, as he's like trying to walk back to the penthouse where everything went down, runs into... Notch and the Dreadnoughts. They have no idea it's her. Runs into Wrath. And so they take off, so they don't recognize that it's Lucas. And so he wants to find out what's going on, so goes up to the cops, and what does he do?
Yeah.
I thrust up my chest, batted my eyes, and hoped for the best. Like, it's like, really? So they're able to, like, give him, like, some information. That is like, there was only one survivor and they're at Mercy General, so he's going to go to the hospital. They are going to go to the hospital. On his way, there's a rape attempt, which is pretty horrific. Trigger. I guess we should have done a trigger warning before. But then in the midst of it, he's freaking out, and they are freaking out. I don't know who to call them anymore. Lucas, whatever. And the guy catches on fire. So it's like, what the hell? I don't know how. I didn't know why. I just ran, cursing this damn body for its weakness. So like multiple times he's like referring to this like female's body as being like weak, which is just like, man, it's a little heavy-handed.
Well, at this point, it's still. I'm not as bugged because it's weaker than he's used to. That's
true.
Okay.
That's true. That's true.
But I don't mind, like, yeah, some of the things you've had hiccup issues with, I haven't yet at this point.
Yeah.
But it gets there.
yeah. I guess that's what I'm responding to, is kind of knowing what's coming. So he visits Katinya, who is old now because Archmage's magic kept her alive. And Katinya can recognize Lucas, of course. And then is like, hey, Archmage made a mistake. How do I get out of this body? And she says this was like Archmage's like plan. It was actually like a fail-safe of like last resort to put you specifically in this body. And of course, Lucas is freaking out, and then Katinya gives Lucas this like pendant with the mask on it, and says that change, growth, power, let this be your mantra. And then changes into the costume. After that, man, there's just a lot of story in these issues. Like,
yeah,
Mike Barr fits a lot of story in these issues. Katinya dies, of course, and cops are like, hey lady, what the hell, and this person just died, and they kind of chase her out. Lucas, as Eden, takes off, runs, and heads home. Grandma and the kids are there, and Lucas is trying to figure out what the heck, am I supposed to do with these kids? They're like, Mommy, take me to bed, read me a story. She's like, no, go to bed, little girl, and you too, you little, dude, and no back talk. And of course, it's a punk teenager straight from the 90s, or my house. And then trying to take a whiskey down. And one thing that was pretty cool about this was he normally likes whiskey, but the body itself didn't like it. So he was like, oh, this body doesn't like whiskey, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, that was a nice touch.
And then Wrath shows up at the door for some fucking reason. The guy who killed him. So that's it. That is issue 1 of Mantra, which
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot packed into one issue.
There is, and I mean, I did enjoy this issue. I mean, this is when I started kind of seeing some of the ways in which he's like, oh, this damn body. I was like, okay, it's for story effect, right? It's like the adjustment of a man that's used to being a warrior having to adjust to like a suburban mom's body, Well,
and that's why I didn't mind. One of the reasons I didn't mind him realizing how to use the body effectively to get men to do what he wants, because he's a soldier and he's worked like it's millennia and a half here. So it's not like he's not seen tactics or even succumbed potentially to tactics. So like he knows how to work it. It's just it's not his go-to. So I didn't have any problems with this. Like, I particularly as a 16-year-old when I read it, like, no, I didn't mind
I didn't have any
pinup chic stuff. And now reading as an adult, I see that for what it is. I mean, it sells comics, so cool.
Yeah. So one thing I did notice in the editorial commentaries, Diane's commentaries, is the Mike Barr, Terry Dodson, and Alve doing like a quote on their own comic on Mantra itself and what it means to them, I guess. And Alve's quote is, I want Mantra more than I want Kitty Pryde. Just like,
Yeah, God.
all right, dude.
All
Like,
right.
let's feed into the male like weirdness. All right, well, that's mantra number one. I'm looking forward to jumping into mantra 2, 3, and 4. I mean, apparently this story just goes doom, 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 one thing right after another. So we'll see what happens.
All right, let's do it.
All right, everybody out there, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Please, please, please go support Aaron on his Patreon, buy his books, go to my Patreon, buy my books.
Buy all the books.
Buy all the books. Keep it psycho, folks.